All right, so we, did step one, our love letter to ourselves. We've done or are working on step two, our vision story. And I think I had the opportunity last time to touch on it. But step three is um, coming up with a short statement that really kind of captures the language of our vision story and serves as a direct reminder we can put in front of us really easily of what our vision story is. So you can have this be maybe a title to your vision story, after you've taken a look at it. Similar to a motivation statement, we're actually going to call this an anchor statement. So, the purpose of that being to anchor us back to the language, the emotion, the feeling, the experience that we wrote about in our vision. So, for example, um, let's see, for my overall vision story, so encapsulating health and wellness, business and career and relationships, taking a look at my whole vision story, Girl on Fire is my anchor statement. When I wrote very specifically my health vision story, yes, I mentioned Girl on Fire, but that's very specifically because I already had that as an overall anchor statement. The anchor that I've got very specifically for my physical health, and mental health, um, is the athlete takeover. Because for me, that's a very clear picture of the mindset and the actions that produce the vision. Um, so once you've wrapped up your vision story, then take a read through, take a look at your um, your more common themes within it and kind of toy with some potential anchor statements. So, again, the purpose of the anchor statement is to, um, sorry, looking into my notes, might need to do other notes over there. The purpose of the anchor statement is really to, again, just really draw out the language from our vision story. I took a lot of notes on days one and two, passing by the vision story in my notes at the moment. Um, Essentially, it's the first step. The anchor statement is the first step in vision story integration. So, how we're integrating the vision story into our daily, weekly, monthly lives. Um, so, some notes for you for integration in general. I like that, Adina. From strength to strength would be a good one. Very good one. Um, so in terms of integrating your vision story, I do highly recommend that you find a way to read your vision story at minimum once a week. Um, such as when you're planning out your week on like a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, like planning out the next week and what that's going to look like for you. Um, And there are different ways you can do this. I've got my vision story both um, in Google Drive, so it's accessible on whatever device I happen to be signed into on with Google. It's very easy that way. I can pull it up on my phone, I can pull it up on my laptop, I can pull it up on PC if I want to. Um, I also have it recorded to audio, so I can listen to it as well. Um, You can go and once a month, rewrite it without any change. You know, the act of rewriting something can help ingrain it in you more. It's a tool I used back in high school and college ad nauseum. I felt like I was always writing, and it was a lot of it was just notes from my classes because that helped me remember it better. And it is a proven tool for a lot of people when it comes to incorporating something into your memory. Rewrite it. Um, I want you to consider sharing your vision story with people who would not poo all over it, of course, but only people you can trust with it. So, for example, I'm very, very fortunate that Nick is like that he and I communicate with each other in the way that we do, and that he is open to this kind of process because he's somebody I could within my life actually share my vision story with. Um, I've never once decided for sure on whether or not I would share it with my mother because I could see her being certainly open to what this process looks like, but I can also just as easily see her saying, "Why are you doing this?" So, not a safe spot for it, you know? Um, so not everybody is going to have the spouse or significant other, the sister or the brother, the parent, the best friend who is going to appreciate this. So, in the very least, this is a safe space for you to do so. With each other, I hope, but especially with me, um, you can share. Having gone through the process myself for the last couple of years, I don't poo on other people's vision stories. There's a reason they're writing what they're writing, and it's important to them. So why would you? Again, there are just simply going to be people who don't understand it. But um, other ways you can integrate your vision story. Start associating certain sights or smells or tastes or colors or textures. Um, change your wardrobe. Carry yourself, um, show up the way that the version of you in your vision story would. You know, for me, my vision story included hanging out with my journal and a cup of tea, well, a pot of tea, but a cup of it as well, and you know, a nice soft blankie. I might actually go ahead and do that a little more often than I do right now because it is a link directly to that vision. And again, the length of that vision story does not matter. It's the feeling that matters. So when it comes now to steps 4 and 5, our mindset process and our action steps, there are going to be points where sometimes we need to give ourselves a little bit of grace. And then there are other times where we're going to have to give ourselves a bit of grit in order to work through what it is we want in order to get where we want to go with our vision. Um, and in this case, nice, Cheryl. And in this case, mindset plus action equals momentum. So step 4, our mindset process. Step 5, action equals momentum. But we've got to have started with the vision in place. So don't jump into the how until you've got the vision in place. And again, if you are getting sticky at any point, working through your vision story, if there's something that starts feeling like it's going to kind of block you from moving forward in creating your vision story, it might not belong there, or you might need to address it specifically in the vision story. Um, so after our vision story, after creating an anchor statement, we do our mindset process. And our mindset process is actually going to be us creating some inspiration statements. So, as much as our anchor statement is what um, serves as our reminder of the total language of our vision story, our inspiration statements do those for very specific parts of the vision story. Once we have our vision, we need to put it into action. So we will bring this down to what the rest of this quarter looks like. This is where we're going to work on the how. We've got to start on the how and very specifically what matters first in quarter one for the quarter four vision to come true. So in this place, now we can start bullet pointing things out. Now we can create some direct areas of focus. We're going to want to narrow it down to one, two, or three specific areas. Again, mind, body, and soul could certainly be appropriate here as 3 points of reference for our health and well-being. Um, or you could get even just a little more specific with it, and maybe it's about, one area is how you start and how you finish the day, where you want to create routines. Or the physical activity side of things is an area of focus. Maybe that's about how much time you want to commit to structured exercise versus general activity, such as going out for walks or swimming or cycling or hiking or other things. Um, as we are coming up with our inspiration statements, we're going to need to start addressing a few specific sticky points here too. Overthinking, overfeeling, and our belief systems, and by this I don't mean our faith systems, but our belief systems can get in our way. And in this case, it's things that we might say to ourselves, stories or language that we might use that can essentially like F stuff up for us. It's the, what do I need to keep top of mind so I don't self-sabotage, so I can get what it is I want from this. Um, so points of reference that I put into my vision story to work on addressing some of my self-sabotage tendencies were things like stepping into the determination of Elle Woods from Legally Blonde and Little Baby Monster, which I've got. If I haven't told you that story, I should, um, because it's a fun one. But with the underlying overall energy of Bubbles, the persona that goes and focuses on joy, impact, vision, empowerment, those things that are important to me to have in place and be creating from. Um, those are the things that help me get back to body, mind, and soul. And again, the athlete takeover being my anchor for my health, um, suggests for me direct mindset and actions to take. So here are some questions that you can ask yourself to help with coming up with your inspiration statements. First, looking at your vision story, what jumps out at you as one, two, maybe three areas that you want to focus on that would allow your vision to take root and come about. The next question, okay, let me actually get the first question into the chat. Okay, question two is what would you want for your best self? Like if you were thinking of your best version of yourself, which, the you that you are in Q4 vision is certainly an aspect of your best self, right? Um, what would you want for your best self? When your best self is making decisions, where might those decisions come from? Nice, Abdalis. Um, so we'll want to work on potentially reframing from within our vision story. Because when we're writing our vision story, we really get the opportunity to dissect what it is we want for our best selves, kind of with that fine-tooth comb, and have it generate excitement for us. But we want to reframe what we're trying to do from our vision story forward. So for example, if we're looking at, you know, finances, because maybe for us, you know, getting a gym membership might be something we want to do. Therefore, there's a financial component to it. So maybe it's not getting out of debt, but it's the freedom that being debt-free represents. So a very easy inspiration statement then could be something like um, financially fit, because if we're thinking on, okay, I want to put a little money towards my physical health, whether that's on the nutrition side of things or, um, getting clothes that we'd be comfortable working out in, or whatever else that we might put money towards, financially fit could be a very good representation of what the focus is. Yes. Very nice. Very nice, Cheryl. Um, so another way to think about it in terms of when we're choosing our areas of focus, and yes, I'm typing. Um, we want to answer the question, if I forgot to work on these, would I move forward on my vision? Because if the answer is yes, then they're probably not going to be the right inspiration statement for us to move forward. But if the answer is no, then we know we're in the right direction. When would we be using the inspiration statements? That's the next thing I'm going to talk about. Um, so our inspiration statements, their job is to give us our daily and weekly focus points. If our vision story is something that we're getting back to, on a weekly basis at minimum, then our inspiration statements, we're checking in with those frequently. Those are going to be our daily drivers, so to speak. So, um, So this is actually an area I need to work on as well right now because I need to really pull from my vision story, and from the athlete takeover, what is going to matter most here? The things that, of course, immediately stand out there are the morning and evening routines. What does an elite athlete do? How are they going to start and finish their day? Um, and then the physical activity, and then also how I'm fueling my body for that. Um, I have the benefit of having been a college athlete, so having had some very distinct routines, but also having the freedom and the all you can eat dining hall meals that helped genuinely fuel um, my athleticism. Well, now I've actually got to put a bit more thought into that because I'm not the college athlete anymore. But if I want to dip it back into some of the mindset, some of the patterning from that, what would that look like for me now that I'm 38, soon to be 39? Also, I don't know who let me do that. How'd I get there? Um, so where would we put our inspiration statements? The best place for that would be within some kind of journaling, whether it's written form or verbal, like you're recording it. Um, there are four four steps to journaling in a way that helps you tackle the the mental blocks or other things that might get in our way, and then redirect ourselves. So I'm going to put these in the chat as well. The first is learning your language. So this is going to be um, the thoughts, feelings, physical symptoms, and other related things that might be weighing on our minds or causing us stress. Um, those are the things that could distinctly distract us. So this is going to be extremely specific person to person. Um,
Can we backtrack a little bit? What
yeah,
the I'm a little confused how we got to this from the inspiration statements.
I'll
What are
I'll
we
get
talking?
you I'll get you that in a second. Um, so the inspiration statements come in this journaling process. The first step in the journaling process is addressing potential language that we might have, the thoughts, the feelings, the physical stuff like hormones, um, other stuff that might be weighing on our minds, causing us stress or holding us back from feeling like we can make moves on our vision. The second part, now we get into three steps that are actually the first step there, learn your language, is us identifying the potential negative. The next three steps are turning it around into positive and redirecting our focus for the day ahead. So, step two is going to be let's see, trying to think if it makes more sense to put this one here or third. I'm going to go ahead and put it second. Imagine your outcome. So now this is us writing down what it is that we want. So getting back into our vision. And very specifically, this is where we would lead with our anchor statement. In fact, I would even recommend if you're doing journaling and writing, you stick your anchor statement at the top of the journal entry. Date it, put down your anchor statement, learn your language in, then start writing about what it is that you want. 3 is direction review or review your direction. This is where we're going to go ahead and actually do 2 things. One is addressing the negative language or the negative, whatever it is, and um, reframing for positive. This is directly where we're going to stick our inspiration statements. So while we could certainly have our inspiration statements float around like our anchor statement might, or our vision story might, where we might keep things, you know, in specific places. Like I said, my vision stories in Google Drive. Um, I have a journal. If I were to open this, and I might screenshot, you know, it directly at some point, but if I were to open it, I don't know how close. It's not going to show up. I've got my background on, but I've got my anchor statement right at the top of each day. I get into asking myself the questions, what what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What, you know, is going on inside my body? What's going on in my environment? What feels like it could get in my way today? For example, for me, with certain times of the month, hormonal influence, I get kind of hazy brain, challenge focusing. So I need to put in place with step 3, review my direction, what's going to help me most, focus on what matters most today. So when I write in my inspiration statements, again, those are for um, the focus points from my vision story. So, like financially fit. What would I do in order to, in quarter 1, work towards financial fitness that's going to help me achieve physical fitness? Um, Step 2 with imagine your outcome. Um, yes, this can be related to specifically the day, how you want to finish out the day. It could be how you want to make sure you're working today on what you want to accomplish within the week, or it can be or the larger vision, where you're actually bringing something directly out of your vision, where you essentially write about, hey, these, yes, this part is for a daily journal. Yes, daily journal. Um, and like I said, it can be in writing, it can be spoken. Um, if I don't have a lot of time to write, then I do have an app that I use to just take verbal notes on. Um, I'll answer that question in a moment, though, the one you just put in. Um, but yeah, so let's say if the athlete takeover is my anchor statement, what would a good inspiration statement be for me? I need to pull out. No, the journal is all the way over somewhere else. Never mind. I hadn't typed up my vision story yet for the health vision. It's sitting in an actual journal. Um, but let's say that, well, I know I'm going to want to make exercise highly consistent this year so I can potentially see the most benefit out of it, regardless of what the exact outcome is, even though, of course, in my vision story, I've put in I have a trimmer waist. Um, the an inspiration statement for the physical activity, the exercise, I might use movement as momentum. It that means that regardless of whether it's a structured exercise session or I'm just making sure that, this was a day I'm gonna be on the computer a whole lot, I need to set a timer and get up off my butt. Um, an inspiration statement like that is where I would reflect in my journal now what matters most. This is review my direction. So if I'm writing down the movement is momentum inspiration statement, then what matters most might be scheduling the workout or taking a look at my day ahead, what I've got in my schedule in terms of, am I in a networking session? Am I on a coaching call? Do I have client check-ins? All that sort of stuff. And I will boil it down to the what matters most. So it might end up being things like set my timer and um, see movement happen. So setting my timer to get away from the computer for X amount of time. So learn your language, step one in journaling. Imagine your outcome, step two, review your direction, get those inspiration statements down, one, two, three of them, however many you have for your focus points. And then that's review your direction. And then step four, and this is one we are doing weekly right now, celebrate your wins. So this is where you won the day at all points. Me, I find it easiest, and part of the reason for it is because I am at my desk a whole lot. I've got my journal next to me. If I've got a win, I write it down when it happens, and I can review it at the end of the day. Um, but if review your direction is taking a look at what the day ahead would be like, then celebrating your wins is reflecting on what your day did look like. And it's very specifically, much like your love letter, you are pulling everything you can into how you won, even where you didn't think you necessarily did. So, where you won the day. So, now to answer your question, Adina, um, what if I usually journal at night? This particular journaling process, I would highly suggest kicking off your day with, maybe a cup of tea or cup of coffee, and even just 10 minutes of very quick reflection on, where your body is, what it's doing. Now, am I perfect? Do I do it first thing in the morning all the time? No. But that is an aim for me, is to do it as much towards the beginning of the day as possible. Um, and then celebrating my wins comes at night. Again, like I said, I tend to write my wins down as they happen. One of the reasons I do that is often enough, I'm so tired at the end of the day. It's like pulling teeth trying to remember all of what the day looked like. And way easier for me to have looked at all of these different wins in reflection of what my day looked like and be like, oh, yeah, I remember doing that. That was really good. Because I've got a fairly fast-paced day in general, depending on what's going on. Um, so to answer Abdalis's question, so these inspiration statements will get you to move towards achieving your vision statement, like statements that will get you to take action. Clarification here. Your inspiration statement can be for each area of focus, you're going to choose either a more mindset-based inspiration statement or a more action-based inspiration statement. A mindset-based inspiration statement, I'll bet I've got that better described in some other set of notes somewhere else. Hold on. Let me jump back over there. Um, nope, that one. The inspiration statements, I am awful at planning and note taking. Oh, hold on, there we go. I think that's it. Yes, there we go. Okay, so the inspiration statements, again, we're looking at the 1 to 3 areas that need our devoted focus in quarter 1 so that we could achieve our vision at the end of the year. So this might be related to putting certain things in place. It could be related to very specific areas such as physical fitness or nutrition. You want no more than 3 areas, just because you don't need to spread yourself so thin. Um, Mindset-based inspiration statements versus action-based. If you've got a a block in one area of focus or another, you want to think about the kinds of things that block you from taking action. Do they appear to be more related to mindset, or do they appear to be more related to just simply needing to take action? So again, the grace versus grit kind of idea. Um, so ask yourself, am I taking the actions I need to take to create the results? If no, then ask yourself, do I have what I need in order to take these actions, like time? Um, or are there stories that I'm telling myself that are keeping me from taking action, if any, like fear of failure? Fear of failure would be a mindset-based block. Um, Time could be either a mindset or action-based block, depending on what's going on. For example, if it's as easy as a scheduling issue, then it is, and by easy, I don't mean necessarily like it's super easy just to go and schedule a thing. What else needs to be there? Do you need to um, have your support team in place so they can take certain things off your hands or something? Um, that's an actual action block and requires an action to fix. If there's a mindset block, there would be a mindset fix. And you could find that there are some things that maybe have a bit of both. For example, I I would say in the more than 15 years that I've been a personal trainer and coach, the vast majority of my clients don't make time for themselves. They put a whole bunch of other things above their health as priority. That has both mindset and action related blocks involved potentially. So part of my job is helping them with figuring out what the blocks are, whether they're mindset related or action related, how to resolve them. And then suddenly they've got a little more room to work for themselves, right? Um, so let's see. So that's mindset versus action. From strength to strength, your anchor statement, Adina, you could break from your anchor statement probably one at least area of focus really easily and create an inspiration statement around it, also possibly involving strength. Um, like I said, for me, movement is momentum could be an inspiration statement reminding me, hey, I need to get my steps in. I need to get structured exercise in. Um, so that's the mindset process then. Um, the fifth step then is our actual action steps. The action steps then are first things first. What do I need to put in place to start moving on this? So it's not necessarily go out and exercise right now, but it might be make sure my workout clothes are washed. It might be schedule exercise. It might be make sure I have an alarm set for certain times of the day to get up and move around. Um, to figure out our action steps even more, there are some things that it's worth identifying. Um, we want to be aware, and Adina, I think I'm further answering your last question here with this. We want to be aware of what stories we need to watch out for. For example, um, my anchor statements, the athlete takeover, movement is momentum. A story that I could potentially tell myself that would get directly in the way is other things need to take priority here, like my business or something. Well, okay, maybe, but is the answer always going to be I need to work, 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 work? Probably not, because eventually I have to do things like eat and sleep. So if I am not working on something that's going to directly positively impact my business, why shouldn't I be exercising? Um, so when it comes to these stories, what's going to get in the way? What's going to get in my way? Am I afraid to trust myself with, my mindset or taking action? There are some people who are extraordinarily good at being action takers, but maybe taking action in not quite the right directions for accomplishing their vision. So, what kinds of things can distract me from accomplishing what I want to? For example, getting distracted with doom scrolling on social media, when in reality, that just had me sitting down for like half an hour. Okay, really, really could have gotten an exercise session in half an hour. Um, so we want to also think to Now those are the things that could get in the way. We also want to think too, the things that will help us get um, back on track. So things like connection ports. And these are things that this is now separate from the journaling. Yes, Adina, this is now us creating a bulleted list of direct actions that we can take that will start moving our vision forward this quarter. Um, so connection ports are things that ground us in ourselves. For me, getting outside, getting out in nature, walking around is a good one. Um, Especially if I've been like hammering my brain on something for a while for work, or I've been in calls all day. I love talking with people, love hearing from people. But if I've just simply been doing the same thing all day long, I need a rest. I need something that's going to make me feel more like me some more. That's what a connection port is. Connection port could really easily be scrolling a little bit on social media, getting a laugh in. It could be watching an episode of a TV show or a short movie. It could be reading. It could be getting out in nature. It could be movement or exercise. You know, this is you taking a look at the kinds of things that help make you feel like you. You don't necessarily have to put like all of them into your week by any means, but you should have a running list of something you can get yourself into to help reframe and redirect when you need it. Um, Signs that you need to dive into a connection port would be fatigue and overwhelm. Consistency fatigue is a real thing. And the actions that we take to build consistency with respect to our health goals and our vision are at some point going to feel like just simply checking boxes day in and day out on certain things. So we need the connection ports. We need flow switches. That's another. Flow switches are direct phrases that redirect us out of things that are getting in our way mentally. So, if I am doom scrolling and I recognize that I'm doom scrolling, uh, the elite athlete doesn't have time for this. Might be a flow switch I use. So, your action steps need to include some things that will help you take and get some quick wins as well. Like I said, scheduling your workouts in the week. Um, it's about playing to your strengths as well as taking into account the things that don't necessarily excite you a whole lot, um, and will require you to decide what your energy outputs need to be. So the outputs being what you actually do and what your energy inputs need to be. So the connection ports, the flow switches that remind you you're on a mission. Um, so let's see if I do have action steps up over here. Okay. So when you're looking at your action steps, here's another place where um, where we'll go ahead and use our inspiration statements. Use your inspiration statement as a header to your list of action steps. So, um, is this all part of the action portion or what we need to identify before that? This is part of the action portion. The connection ports and the flow switches are part of potential action steps. Um, so for my health and fitness, if I were looking at movement is momentum, what kinds of things stand out as direct actions I can take that would promote movement as momentum. One might be, um, again, setting an alarm on my phone to get up and move around. Uh, Another might be open my planner, schedule my workouts for the next month. Um, as in if I've got fairly consistent routines, like there are certain things I know I generally do with each day, even if those days are looking different from each other, where am I sticking workouts in? Um, uh, Scheduling walk and talks. Maybe in order to get extra movement, I decide once a week I'm going to go ahead and do a, you know, a Facebook Live into our group while I'm walking and just tell you guys how things are looking. Oh, look here, the lovely river next to me. Um, let's see, if that's movement is momentum, what might another area of focus be for me? Another area of focus might be on my nutrition. So scheduling meal planning, scheduling grocery shopping, scheduling, yeah, lots of scheduling there. Um, Scheduling when I might pre-log my nutrition in my Fitness Pal, which I like using to help just simply track my macronutrient ratios, and make sure that I'm within the relative calorie range that would allow me to potentially see a caloric deficit. Now, in terms of just in general, um, the uh, all of the like calorie information is all estimates. So if I'm not actively losing weight and I don't have a direct medical condition that compromises my ability to, then I know I'm not in a caloric deficit if I'm not actually losing weight. So, um, the action steps can take a little bit of time to do in terms of to kind of flesh this out. So you can absolutely go with one area, focus on just one area. Um, so if for you that turns out to be focusing on the physical fitness side of things, what needs to be in place there? You need your workout clothes ready. You need um, to know when you're going to work out. You need to know what you're going to do to work out. Those kinds of things are the action steps that get put into place. Um, it could include a purge of your wardrobe and go with other clothes. There's a lot of different things that can be just single-minded action is what you're looking at there. This is the real how and nitty-gritty. What's up, Adina?
A part of me is like, oh, maybe I could spend first quarter just focusing on the working out
Hmm.
strength aspect. However, I feel like if I do that, that's almost procrastinating on the eating side of things and the
Okay.
nutrition side of things. So
So a way of kind of neutralizing the nutrition side would be what makes sense to put on maintenance.
Mhm.
So we aren't going to be able to max lift in all areas. I'm using that term very, very much with the understanding of it being an exercise term. So power lifters, when they are working on preparing for competition and they are checking um, their true maximum lift. So what amount of weight they can lift once. The three big lifts are bench press, squat, and deadlift. if they test those all in one day, even though that's the way it's going to work at competition, they're not going to get a direct reflection of what they truly can lift maximally with each of those. Um, if they schedule testing each of those lifts once across the same week, though, they know what their true max is on each of those things. Working on each of these areas of focus is going to be the same way. So there are going to be some things that we might want to go ahead and prioritize higher for certain reasons. You did, I know you did a good bit of focus this past year on shoring up some things on the nutrition side, working through either mindset or action-based blocks and experimenting with things a little differently. So then the question might be if you want to focus a little bit on the nutrition, but you want to put more of your focus on exercise. Now the question for your action steps might be, or an action step might be decide what for nutrition can be put on maintenance, or decide what could be my most common meals week to week. Would they have, would you require them to vary a lot? Or could you make it a, a 1 to 2 week meal plan you just put on repeat for a bit? You know, what here can be made to be easy is the big question you're gonna answer when it comes to when you need to pull back in one area or another in order to put higher emphasis on the third or the second thing. Um, for example, for me, using MyFitnessPal contributed to being able to do that. I was a little less worried about the um the variety of food and more focused on making sure I was trying to hit a like a minimum number of steps per day. Just sitting in front of the computer working a lot means that I'm not up and moving quite as much. So if I know that one of the things that genuinely helps me is, with weight management, with body fat related stuff, is moving. So moving is actually going to be a big one for me this coming year, making sure I'm very consistent on workouts, movement outside of my workouts. Um, then a lot more of my action steps are probably going to be around setting that up and then just simply making sure I've got more of the support stuff in place for keeping something like nutrition on maintenance. And maintenance just simply being I'm not looking at taking direct movements forward with this one right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you want to kind of flesh that part out a little bit right now, what do you think that might look a little bit for you? Like, is there a specific area that stands out from your vision story that you could see probably needs to have a lot more emphasis from your focus this year?
Repeat the question.
Oh, what one area from your vision story
Yeah.
do you think would require the most action to move your vision story forward?
I mean, I see it as two areas. One
Mhm.
is the working out physical action,
Mhm.
and one is the nutrition eating.
Okay.
So the physical action working out, I am much more excited to be working on because I
Sure.
feel like my likelihood of actually following through is much higher.
Hmm.
And the other one I've been working on for so long and just spinning my wheels.
Okay.
So, so,
Okay. So if we want to go ahead and just limit it to the two areas,
mhm,
fitness and nutrition,
mhm.
um, and you feel like you've been working on the nutrition side of things for a while,
Working
then
like feeling like I'm working on it, but not like
right, yeah,
progressing.
right, yes, yeah, you said
Yeah.
spinning your wheels.
Mhm,
So, a question to ask yourself then would be, what's the block on the nutrition where you
mhm.
feel like you've been spinning your wheels? Because that block again goes back to do we need to create a specific inspiration statement around that block? Or do we need to have some very certain actions in place, in our action steps list
Mhm.
that commit us to resolving the block? Um, I would recommend an inspiration statement around it, something that's going to um, resolve what the block is. So you've got to decide, is this more a mindset block or is this more an action block? If it's I don't have motivation to do this thing, that's an action block because motivation is this word that we oftentimes just simply use as a reason to do or not do something. We've essentially put emotion into the situation where what really needs to be in place is the action, right? So, like I said, you got to kind of decide what the block type might be. And you and I can hash that out with each other a bit later. Um, but yeah, I would say that that would be the focus first. Get the inspiration statement in place that's going to help you with making that a true area of focus where you can see progress.
Is there something to be said for focusing on, well, let's say doing like a 2-1 ratio of there's more of the exercise portion of seeing the progress and getting the feeling of accomplishment and win,
Mhm.
and then working on mindset while doing that mindset on the nutrition portion, and then sort of switching the
Oh
ratio.
yeah, you can absolutely do that. You can certainly do that. That's funny enough, an area where your journaling can help.
Hmm.
Um, it is certainly okay to write about it to death, as in the death of the block, if you will. Um, the fact that you are aware that there is a block, um, one is really good because some people just aren't. They just they'll say something like, "Well, I just need to do it." And then, the question then becomes, "Okay, well, why aren't you?" Um, and that's actually a good point too, Cheryl, with exercising more consistently. Um, sorry, reverse that. Strike that, reverse it. Feeling better within exercise when our nutrition's matching what our body needs to sustain an exercise habit. Um, right, exactly, because just doing it is so simple. No, that's why we need the little wins here with some of these action steps. What kinds of things need to be put in place? Like um, Cheryl, you and Angela are both mothers, do we need to make sure our particular support system is in place on certain occasions so we can take the time to do, whatever nutrition or whatever exercise, thing we want to do. Um, let's see, you know, what, oh my goodness, sorry, hiccups. Um, think for sure it'll positively affect your sleep. Definitely. Exercise and nutrition both can influence sleep. So I definitely think that whatever block it is on the nutrition side, um, it's worth exploring. The overthinker in some of us would probably have us linger a little too long on the mindset stuff, on the mindset side of it. And that can deter us from the action side of things. I'm an overthinker. On occasions, I can also be an overfeeler. I know that's when, especially my hormones are playing with me a bit. Um, and yes, Abdalis, you're alluded to. But ultimately, I think even at just a base level, each of us knows what we need to do for nutrition and exercise. We know we need to have a relative balance of protein, carbohydrates, fats in our diet. We know we need to potentially abstain from some things, just not even have them in the house if it means that, we have I'm a foodie, the taste issues are there. So, like, I have gotten extremely practiced at being able to not have the whole bag of something, but it took time. Um, we know what we need to do on the exercise side of things. We know there needs to be a balance of, resistance training and cardiovascular exercise. And we should probably consider, a nice healthy warm up and cool down and stretching period, with respect to our exercise sessions. So we probably don't need to spend too much of our action steps getting into the minute details of those. Go ahead and start your action steps out with what it takes to put in place those kinds of things more consistently. Because then the doing them becomes a bit easier. Because now those things are the things that mean we can do them are in place. So, any other questions before we end tonight? And of course, feel free to shoot me questions over Messenger or text, um, or write into our group as well, as you're working on things. I can give you a quick list of what some of my action steps looked like for my health and fitness from both the physical and mental standpoint from last year. Reset my makeup bag, you know, give myself a moment to make myself up once in a while because sometimes I like feeling pretty. Um, getting in the occasional walk and talk, simplify my meal prep, just in terms of the planning, have it be simple foods. Um, stuff that can be, bulk prepared and seasoned afterwards, even sometimes, if that's the case. Scheduling no screen time on particular days or at certain times of the day. Um, set my morning and evening routines, get outside, create a playlist of 15 minutes for setting my environment for the day. Those are the kinds of things that ended up on my, action steps list. Um, schedule in my calendar when I was going to weigh myself and take tape measurements. Those are those are the kinds of things. Just set it up as simply as you can with respect to the stuff that puts in place the stuff we want to focus on. And that's it for tonight. Like I said, any questions you're welcome to ask now, or we can end here and you can pop stuff into the group or direct message me on other occasions. If you are not currently done with your vision story, definitely get that knocked out first, then go back, take a look at what some of that language looks like for your anchor statement, get your inspiration statements around your chief areas of focus, and then do your action steps. Um, the action steps become essentially a little to-do list. Most of us know how to operate a to-do list, so um, to include writing something down later that we already did and crossing it off. And you're very welcome. I actually very much looking forward to checking in with you guys and seeing how you're coming along with each of these steps. Um, so with that, I'm gonna stop the recording. Unless this needs to be, no, that's you waving bye-bye. Okay.